What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? I just realized that the speakers were not unmuted, so you guys didn't get to hear any of the music. So normally we have music queuing up, and I forgot to put that in there. But we're back again. We do these every week at 4 p.m. Central Time, where you guys can ask me questions about your printers. Specifically FDM. So resin stuff, I don't do resin. I don't actually own resin printers anymore. I used to, but I got rid of them. So go ahead and pop the questions in the chat. It could be about our stuff. It could be about troubleshooting, other products. Worst case, I can tell you, hey, I don't know. But go ahead and pop them in the chat. I'm trying to think if I have any updates. There was some stuff I wanted to talk about. So there's a third version of the color screens at Creality shipping with the Ender 3 V2 and the Ender 3 S1. So now we have even more stuff to account for. But the good news is if you get rid of those screens and put our LCD kits on it, you don't have to worry about any of it. But there's another version. I don't know what we're going to be referring to it as. There's DWin and DACI, DACII. And now there's a third variant that literally popped up today. Like I found out this morning. I had 3 different people send me photos of it, and honestly, I'm gonna swear here, I'm getting tired of this shit. Like I understand there's silicon shortage and stuff, but like just randomly switching out stuff literally every other goddamn month. I'm over it. I'm over it. Like we've been trying to have to keep up with all these processor changes on these boards where like some printer models have 8 different processors. And I'm honestly tired of getting customers yelling at us because these companies are fucking idiots. Like it sucks. Like well, you told me this says on your website I work for the Ender 3. Well, sorry, my Ender 3 that I tested and we, as reviewed, had these parts in it. And go yell at Creality. Like I'm honestly tired of it. Like it's fucking bullshit. There's no differentiating between what's in there. It's no secret that people buying these Chinese printers modify them and reflash the firmware. So either these companies just don't give a shit about their customers, or they're just trying to pump out as much crap. Like I'm tired of it. Like I had to amend our TOS to say, basically like, hey, like we try to keep up with everything. I try to do a good job of keeping everybody informed on the changes we're saying. But it's getting out of hand. Like this used to be like maybe we'd see a processor change once a year, but it's like every other month now. Like how long has the Ender 3 S1 been out? It's had 3 different LCDs that have 3 different chips that need 3 different versions of firmware. Like it's nuts. Like and on top of that, they're not sharing their fucking source code anymore. Like, do we seriously need to start boycotting these companies again? Because back in, was it 2018, 2017? I posted a video and we got people boycotting Creality and all these other companies that didn't comply with the GPL. If they complied with the GPL, people that, like you guys watching that want to modify your printers, people like me who own companies that put out firmware to use our products, or just, hell, we put out firmware just for people to have a better experience with these crappy printers because for some reason, a guy in his garage in bumfuck Indiana can write firmware better than a whole team of Chinese people running 3D printing companies. Like, it makes no sense. But here we go. Here's yet the third version of these goddamn screens. So don't know what we're going to call this one. I don't really see any brand markings on it. Like the other one, I don't even know where DACII came from, but that's what everybody's referring to it as. So I try not to, invent my own terms. But here's version number 3. I guess maybe we call it the time screen. I don't know. But yeah, here's another one. Yet another damn revision. But, the good news is if you have one of these screens and you swap it out for the 12064, you don't have to worry about it because you're not going to use it. But, like, as a consumer, it's really irritating. Like, I buy printers. Like, yes, I own this company. I'm sure some of you might be surprised, but I actually use my printers for fun stuff occasionally. More so recently because I've actually been taking some time. But this pisses me off because I buy these printers and I'm not going to use them stock for long. Like I want to do some upgrades to them, and most of them require firmware changes. And when you're switching out processors left and right, you're switching out screens left and right. It's annoying. And like we're a small company, we bought a shit ton of STM processors so we could ship our easy boards. Like these are our control boards that we make. We have not changed the processor at all throughout the entire production. and we're not going to. If I can't get the processors, we're not gonna sell the boards. But I put up money of our own to buy a big stock of processors a while ago, like over a year ago. Don't get it. Like, don't get it. Like, I'm honestly, like, I hope, like, I'm not faking the frustration. I'm fed up with this shit. I'm fed up with people sending us emails bitching at me because my firmware doesn't work on their Chinese piece of shit that they bought. Go tell Creality. Here's what you guys need to do. As consumers, if you guys are getting these chips, you guys are getting printers with different processors from different vendors that no one's even heard of until now. You need to go to these companies and tell them, hey, I want the fucking source code. Because if you're running Marlin, you guys are legally entitled to it. And while they're in China, we can't really do anything because I don't have the money to go after them. You don't have the money to go after them. But what we can do is we can start boycotting these companies that aren't complying with the code again because they've been fucking lazy. Okay? Like, they've been fucking lazy with the source code. And the thing is, if you're going to use Marlin, that gave you a huge leg up on not having to spend money on R&D. And we know these Chinese companies hate spending money on R&D. Okay? That's a fact. Because, like, right now, Creality's getting sued because they stole source code for their scanner from another company, because God forbid we spend money to actually R&D our own stuff. It's just easier to copy other people. But like, you guys are legally entitled to the source code. Now, I can't, if there's like a new version of a printer and I don't own it, I legally can't do it. But the thing is, most of these companies don't give a shit. But you know what they do give a shit about? They give a shit about us not buying their products. That's what they understand. They understand money, okay? They don't care about the GPL. The only reason Creality complied with releasing any source code was just something I started. I started that huge push, okay? I put my neck out there, and luckily other bigger channels picked it up. The only thing that got their attention is that people were not buying their products as much because they were pissed off that they were taking code from the community and using it for their own benefit and not giving the source code back to their customers. And I think we need to start moving. I think we need to start moving that direction again. Is boycotting these companies that are using open source firmware and refusing to provide source code, especially in cases where they're swapping out processors because clearly they got the code working. Why are you not? It is in your best interest as a company to share that code back. That's the whole point of open source is, oh, you got Marlin working on another processor. That's great. Share the source code back to the community. So if other companies start using that processor, they can benefit from it, or other individuals start using stuff with that processor. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm tired of it. Like, the whole reason I started the whole push, it was like 3D printer GPL offenders or something. I had a website and everything. And the whole reason I got pissed was I had a Wanhao i3 Mini. I was doing some upgrades. The stock extruder was dog shit on it. I was putting on one that required to change E-steps, and the firmware would not change E-steps. I could send G-code commands. There was no options in the LCD. I was like, well, it's running Marlin. I can just put Marlin on it. Well, I contacted Wanhao, and they go, no, we're not giving you a source code. I was like, you legally have to give me the damn source code. Like, you don't have an option. You legally have to give me the source code. So my alternative then was to sit there and with my multimeter, and I've done this on many boards, probing out the pins to find out what pin goes to which one on the CPU, and writing my own pins file for it. And finally, after a couple months, they released the source code. And then Creality released the source code. And then ANET released their source code. So far, as far as I know, in terms of like the bigger 3D printing companies in China, the only ones that have yet to release any goddamn source code is Tronxy, which is, other than the fact that they make printers that are the worst quality printers in terms of hardware that I've ever used in my entire life. That's the main reason I don't feature any Tronxy stuff, because all these other companies at least made an effort, but now we're getting back into the point, now that the heat died down on that front, they're getting lazy and they're not releasing source code. Like, you Ender 3 S1 owners that have the STM32F4 chip on it. It's not supported in Marlin. It's going to be up to someone like me, if I get my hands on one of those boards, to try to get Marlin running on that processor, or hell, or if just Creality sent the source code, be like, hey, here's the ones we use for the F4, merge it into Marlin, boom. Like, it's not fair for people like me, for people like Scott, for people like all these other developers that we have to do all the bitch work of these Chinese companies. Like, I think we need to start moving away from recommending printers from companies that aren't going to provide source code, especially when they're switching out chips left and right every other month, it seems. Like, I get it. There's a shortage of chips and stuff, but you guys need to share your source code. That doesn't exempt you from having to comply with the license. And the license is very simple. The same opportunities you were granted by the GPL v3 license, meaning the source code, you have to extend that same opportunity and the same freedoms to your customers. So if you distribute the code, and that could be giving that to them on a flash drive, it could be giving that to them in a download, or on a processor in a product, you distributed that code, that customer or that person is now entitled to the source code if they request it. If you don't provide the source code, if they request it, you are now in violation of the license. So, and if they were a user, if they were a US company, they could be sued, and I absolutely would be going after them. But because they're in China, it's damn near impossible, because the Chinese government doesn't give a shit about our laws over here, doesn't give a shit about copyright laws. If they did, half of these products would probably be off the market because they're all copying stuff. But I digress. But I'm tired of it. Like, I'm really tired of it. Like, you know, and I'm tired of people yelling at us because these Chinese companies are lazy or incompetent or whatever. Whatever the reason is, it's not my fault. It's not other companies' fault to make upgrades. It's not other community members' fault to make firmware that don't work on these. You guys need to start bitching at these companies and telling them you're tired of this shit, and they just need to share their damn source code. That's all they need to do. And then people that make firmware for the community, like myself, or like the other people that do it, have a lot less time, because I'm getting to the point where I'm going to be like, you know what? If you want to use our products, you want to use our firmware, you're gonna have to buy our board, because I'm done doing Creality's bitch work. That's the point I'm getting to, where it's gonna be like, you know, and with these LCD kits, you know, eventually I'm not personally spending any time on writing code for these LCDs, because I'm tired of reverse engineering shit. The main guy that's doing the work on these LCDs is a guy named Dave. He goes by Insanity Automation, and if he makes code changes, I'll merge them in and I'll test them really quick. But I'm done. I'm done doing any sort of, like, you know, code or messing with things, try to get stuff work, because I was doing that with these color screens. I'm done. You guys can spend the $30 if you want to use our firmware, you want to use our upgrades, you can spend the $30 and get rid of the crappy LCDs that they keep switching these screens out on. I literally make about $7 on those kits. So I'm doing it because it's something I have control over, and I'm not spending time on these crappy LCDs, and they keep changing. How many more versions are there going to be? Like, this is, in less than 6 months, we've got 3 different ones. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit, and I'm tired of it. So, you know, and that's what, you know, if someone gets one of these screens, if you have one of these screens and you know, bought an ABL kit and you're like, well, my screen doesn't work well, our response is going to be, well, sorry, Creality changed it again. Go buy our LCD kit, and everything will work. Everything will work. Like, you know, that's it. That's the only thing I can do to keep my sanity and not be, you know, Creality's code bitch, is, hey, just get the LCD kit and you can use our stuff. Like, you know, it makes no sense. And there's no communication between the companies and the consumers, or even the resellers. Like, from what I understand, the resellers have no damn idea until they get the printers that this is like, that this is happening, until they open it up and be like, well, this is a different freaking chip. You know? Like, and it's really simple. They could reduce a lot of the burden on people like me and other people in the community that write firmware to make these printers better and safer in a lot of cases, if they just shared their source code. So I think I'm going to have to start going back. I'm going to make another push to start boycotting companies that don't share the source code. And here's the thing: if any of these companies are watching, because I do know they watch our channel. I've gotten messages from some of them because I've said stuff and they got butthurt. Tough shit. I'm brutally honest. If you guys haven't figured that out, I'm brutally honest. I have I have ADHD, so it's really hard to have a filter. But I'm honest. And the honest thing is, like, it doesn't matter what the reason is why you're switching the processors out. If you're using different code on the processors, you have to give your customers a source code. If not, you're in violation, and I will organize another boycott. I'm tired of it. You guys, if me, a guy in a garage, I'm literally in a garage off my house, and the business is run out of an outbuilding on the property. If I can maintain a nice organized database of firmware for like 40 different printer models, you guys and your big teams of Chinese people can do the same thing. There's no excuse other than you're lazy and you don't want to spend the time or money to do it. So that's it. Or just put your shit on GitHub. Like, it's not that hard. And if it's too hard, then spend some money and hire some competent people that actually know what they're doing. It's that simple. So yeah, that was a good rant. But it needed to be fucking said because I've been sitting here thinking, I'm like, do we need another boycott? Do we need another boycott over the GPL licensing? And like, I'm tired of being these Chinese companies bitch when it comes to software, and I'm tired of people yelling at us and screaming at us because, you know, oh, well, you said this worked with the Ender 3. Well, yeah, it does. It worked with the Ender 3 before they changed chips. I have no control over that. You know, luckily there's like, okay, you get an Ender 3, and let's say there's a board with a processor. We have no idea what it is. Well, you can just swap the board out, you know, but now the customer's spending more money. Like, it's a shit situation, and I'm honestly tired of all this shit and having to drop everything that's going on in my life to try to get firmware working on this stuff to make the customers happy, because we're the ones getting yelled at. You guys should be yelling at the Chinese companies, not me, not anybody else that puts out firmware, that puts out products for these printers that require firmware. You guys need to go back and start telling these companies it's unacceptable. You need to start sharing your source code, because I'm tired of hearing about it. It's nothing I'm doing wrong. I think we do way more than any other goddamn company does in this space. To be completely honest, in terms of support and firmware, find one other company that does a fraction of what we do. Like, I'll wait, and actually, we'll be waiting a while because the answer is there's not. There's no other company that has all the firmware stuff out that we do for all these different printers, and we don't even sell a printer. We don't sell any printers. Like, I've done custom builds for like local people, but we don't sell any printers. Like, but I'm over it. I'm over it. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else other than these companies just being absolutely shitty. It might take a couple deep breaths there, but it's been said. I've been thinking about having this little kickoff here for a couple of weeks now, and this is the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm tired of it. So, yeah, I mean, if you guys want to use your printer stock and never do any upgrades, or not be able to do any repairs, should, you know, you can't get parts, like that's another thing too. People are like, well, just don't upgrade the printer. Well, if you can't get the parts, or like they're extremely hard to come by, and you need to like switch a thermistor number because you could only get, you know, a different 100K thermistor. Like, thermistor is a thermistor is a thermistor, but sometimes it requires firmware changes. Like, what are you supposed to do? You're gonna go back to Creality and wait for them to send you one, and a month later you might get it? Like, you know, it's more than just being able to put upgrades on the printer. It's just being able to maintain the printer and use it and be able to repair it. Like, I personally am very big on being able to repair my own stuff. That's why I will not buy a Tesla, because they won't sell parts to their customers. That's why I don't buy Apple, because they intentionally sabotage their devices so you can't fix stuff. I'm a very big believer in right to repair stuff, and companies that are violating the GPL, which makes it harder to repair and upgrade your products, in this case, you know, and companies that just won't sell you stuff or actively go out of their way to make it so you can't fix your own things or do stuff to it, they don't get my money. I speak with my wallet. So, yeah, you know, like I tell people, you know, with our products, you can, you know, if you want to put Clipper on your EasyBoard V2, go ahead. We're not going to support it, but we're not going to also do anything to prevent you from loading whatever you want onto it. You know, it's at your own risk. You know, and manufacturers and companies have the right to be like, okay, you know, like, yeah, you can do that, but if you break it or brick it, like, you know, that's not covered under your warranty. You know, which is like what we do. Like, we cover our warranty on our boards and stuff. If if you want to use Marlin, go ahead. You want to use Clipper, go ahead. But, you know, if you come to us and you need technical support because something's not working right, we tell you use our software because we know our software works. We know what's been done to it. We know it's been qualified, you know. But we're not going to go out of our way to be like, oh, you can only run Unified on this. You can't run Marlin, you can't run Clipper. No, like, it's your hardware. I firmly believe you bought it. It's yours to do what you want with. You know, and I don't understand why we've gone away. Like, I feel like consumers have gotten, you know, I'm not directing this to anybody watching or any of our customers, but I feel like in general, consumers, especially outside of this DIY space, have become fucking stupid. Like, they become so stupid that they just are like, oh yeah, I'll just throw it away and buy a new one. Or, oh yeah, I'm okay with not being able to fix, you know, the screen on my, you know, my $1,300 cell phone, you know, when it's $100 part. Like, whatever, you know, I'll just bend over and take it. Oh, here's another $1,000. Like, we need to stop we need to stop encouraging companies doing this shit. Otherwise, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. Like, I'm frustrated. I'm tired of it. You know, I try to run our company and I try to design our products how I believe things should be run. You know, like our smart stuff. I believe it should be local controlled. I should believe that you should be able to reflash your firmware if you want to. You should be able to review the source code if you want to. You know, that's something I'm very big on. So anyways, I think that's the end of the rant. I was thinking I do have a personal YouTube channel I don't post too much to, but I thought about having more like candid discussions with people about stuff like this where we just kind of, you know, grab a beer and, you know, just talk about things. You know, just kind of an open manner, you know, within YouTube's regulations, because God forbid we be honest about certain things, but I digress. We're going to get on with this. It looks like we should have a bunch of questions. But yeah, TLDR, like I'm gonna compose a strongly professionally worded email to Creality. We're gonna start there because they're basically the biggest one, and see where we can get, because honestly, I'm tired of this shit. Like I'm tired of all this shit happening. Like like people like me, people like Dave, people like Scott, we are constantly having to reverse engineer shit and waste our time on this earth fixing their shit. And then, you know, customers, instead of like, again, and I'll wrap this up here, I don't understand why, you know, people like Scott or people like myself, we're the ones that people come after like it's something we did. Like we're switching the processors out and like we're obligated to support whatever chips. Like I try to do my best. I genuinely do give a shit about our customers. Genuinely do give a shit about the firmware. I have thousands of hours into our firmware. You know, but like my patience is wearing thin on this subject. And, you know, when I wake up and I get another message that, hey, the screen's changed again, I just want to, you know, take my computer and throw it out the window. That Ron Swanson clip from Parks and Rec where he's picking the computer up and taking it out to the dumpster. Like, you know, fuck this. Anyways, let's get started with the questions. The giveaway is open. Normally there's not this much swearing, but I have no filter sometimes. I've been doing pretty good, but I don't care. Like, we get demonetized for stupid shit anyways, so go ahead, YouTube, and demonetize me. Demonetize me, daddy. Let's go. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, the first question, Dimitri K. Any thoughts on doing, I'm assuming you mean intro, doing intro to 3D printing class? I have friends that have expressed interest in the hobby. So I actually have thought about that. I just don't have the time. There's a lot of stuff I'd like to do. A lot of stuff I'd like to do that I just simply don't have the time for. I've been, you know, like, to give you an idea, like how busy I am, I just got around to installing new headlights and taillights I bought for my car back in June. And I found I ordered the wrong headlight, or the wrong fog light bulbs. So that was fun. It was like $50 wasted, but that's how far behind I am with stuff. Now, luckily, I am getting caught up on stuff. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's more printers back here. I am getting through the backlog of old ones right now, but we do have coming up. We have the Ender 7, the Sunlu S8 Pro, and the Mingda Magician X1, and then the Voxlab Aquila X2. None of these were all ones I purchased. So we rarely get sent printers to review anymore because the Chinese people get all butthurt when you tell them what sucks on their printer. I've been bullied by Chinese companies and threatened. It's funny because it's like, you know, I'm in the US, you're in China, come at me, go ahead. But you know, they don't like honesty, they want sales, and I'm not that type of person. So I'm not like a bunch of these other YouTubers that will sell you guys dog shit just to make affiliate sales. I don't give a shit about our affiliate sales. I like tearing into these printers and giving you guys honest feedback, even if sometimes it's brutal. So yeah, I would like to do classes, but I don't have I don't have the time. 3D experience. Maybe how many YouTubers show Big Tree Tech and others? Oh yeah, because they don't have any. I was thinking about this. It's funny how people will say we're biased towards our own products, but the thing is, like, if I'm selling you my control board, okay, I am personally, me and my company are personally responsible for supporting this and giving you a good customer experience. People like, DPT or Chris's Basement or whatever, insert any of these channels, or Teaching Tech. Like, I'm not trying to single any of you guys out if you guys are watching this. But the reality is you guys just make a video and everybody clicks your AliExpress affiliate link or your Amazon affiliate link, and you guys are making thousands of dollars a month off affiliate sales. I am actually working and selling stuff and designing stuff. You're just shilling third-party products. I'm literally, everything we sell, I have sitting in the shop 200 feet from me. We physically stock it here. I have skin in the game. You don't have skin in the game. Any of you guys that are doing affiliate reviews, and that's your main source of income, which most people are, you don't have any liability if that product the customer bought through your link burns their house down or doesn't work, or the company doesn't get back to them and they just wasted $50. You got your cut. Like, I'm here busting my ass working, 60, 70 hours a week, sometimes more, to take care of our customers and put good stuff out. So, yeah, but no one wants to call that out. No one wants to call out that these guys will, like, sell their viewers products, and they're probably getting cherry-picked products, that have minimal issues or no issues, and then, the customers are getting luck of the draw, anyways, Spasmatic, what advice would you give someone who wants to start a 3D printing business? Well, as somebody who has been divorced because their significant other couldn't handle being with somebody who owned their own business, if you have a significant other, you need to make sure they're, like, absolutely aware of the fact that owning a business means you do have more flexibility, but also sometimes you don't have as much flexibility. Somebody who comes in and punches the clock, they get to leave at the end of the day and not have to worry about work. I don't have that option. Yes, there's some times where I can take time off and I only want to work a half day because things are slower. I can do that. But a lot of people can't handle that, and it puts a big strain on the relationship. And if you're like my ex-wife, they'll stick around while the money's good, but when things slow down, they'll take their check and cash out if you're married. So, anyways, I'm not bitter at all. But yeah, it's a lot of time. It's a shit ton of time. Try to keep it to just you for as long as you can, because once you start getting employees and contractors, you start getting into things like workers' comp, health insurances, compliance shit, audit shit. It's a lot. Like, when people talk about overhead, and I can tell when people have no idea what is involved with running a business, when they look at stuff and be like, oh, that's too expensive. They have no idea what your overhead is. Overhead is stuff like electricity, gas, building, the building itself, whether it's rent or maintenance on the building, all the equipment you have. Like, we have computers, we have printers, we have network equipment, we have, air conditioning units, like all this overhead, and then all the other bullshit that you have to have because we're in the US and anybody can sue you for any reason at any time. So I got to spend, tens of thousands of dollars a year. Like, literally, we spend as much money in insurances as it would cost me to hire another, like, higher level person. That's another thing, and as far as I know, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, as far as I know, the Chinese companies don't have a lot of that overhead we do here in the US, which is why they can undercut companies, and also put out products that are just shitty. So, like, I pay as much in taxes, I pay more in taxes every year than most of you guys watching take home. Think about that. And I keep most of the money in the company. I'm driving a 12-year-old car with 160,000 miles on it, and the only fancy tech stuff I have is stuff I can business expense, and it's work-related. But yeah, let me try to steer back. But unless you are willing to work your ass off for at least the first 5 years, we're coming up on 5 years in business. September will be our official 5-year anniversary. of the company being around. We've gotten through a lot. Gotten through all the COVID shit, gotten through all this other crap, gotten through a divorce, and we're still kicking. You got to be somebody that when your back is against the wall, you fight. You don't shut down. That doesn't mean you're not gonna have nights where you're literally crying because you're so stressed. Um, okay, sorry. You're gonna have days where shit sucks, but you have to be able to pull yourself back up and push through it. Just like I'm doing right now. I'm sorry. Hang on one second. Okay, so to sum it up, running a business is great, but also it's really taxing. It's a lot to deal with, and when we first started, before all this COVID bullshit started, it was already stressful, and the last 2 years have been even worse. So I can't tell you how many times I wanted to throw the towel in because I was tired of having to work more on top of how much I've already been working, and then watching our fucking shitty governments bailing out all these huge companies and doing things that intentionally fucked over small business during the pandemic and continue to do, made it really felt like everything was stacked against me. But the thing is, I'm not going to go down without a fight, and I think that's the only reason I keep pushing forward. Um, you know, like, uh, and none of this is political, but like, it seriously feels like a lot of time, especially recently, that in general, the powers that be, whatever you want to call it, they don't like small businesses because if the more broken up everything is, the harder it is to control, and it feels like they're trying to snuff us all out because if everybody's working for big companies, it's really easy to force people to do stuff that they may not want to do if the only option is working for a large corporation. It sucks seeing my tax dollars that I bust my ass for go to bailing out big companies for what? Like, if I fail, I lose everything. If my company folds, like, if my company folds, that's it. I don't have anybody bailing me out. I don't have the government going, I'm not United that's going to get, tons and tons of money to get bailed out because they failed, regardless of the reason. Like, I watched so many people, just local business here in town, go out of business because of the pandemic bullshit. Some people might get pissed off about this, but when all this stuff started, one of the things I butted heads with my ex-wife over was when they were talking about shutting everything down. I literally said, no, I'm not fucking shutting down. I'm not killing my company over all this bullshit. We're going to take the precautions we need to take. We don't have that many people working in person anyways, and they're not going to pay my goddamn bills. I can't, like, I'm not going to undo everything I've done over the last, you know, how many years of being financially responsible. And they're not going to bail us out. And I also don't want to take handouts. Like, I am very firm on, if you want something in life, you got to bust your ass and work for it. Like, nothing in life is guaranteed. The world owes you nothing. Like, and I'm glad I did, because I watched other companies that shut down because they thought they had to, or they were going to get, you know, I don't know, arrested or something. I literally said, you know what? If they want to come and arrest me, I'll go to jail over it, because it's something I firmly believe in. They can't come in, and this is fucking America. They can't come in and tell me, no, you can't make a living. You can't pay your bills. You know, I said, fuck that. Let them come and try. If they do, I'll go to jail over it, because it's something I believe in. You know, and I'm not trying to be political or anything. It's just, that's my personal view on stuff. But the whole thing is, like, running a small business sucks a lot. Don't do it if your plan is to make a ton of money, because it's so up and down, and then they screw you every which way when it comes to taxes and all the other overhead. But, like, you're going to work your ass off if you want to be successful. If you want to just kind of scrape by, you know, that's not really, like, it's not really an option. You can't really kind of do the bare minimum. Like, it's not an option with a business. Like, you're not going to grow, and you got to kind of be on the ball all the time. You know, and when you get knocked down, you got to get back up, you know, and yeah. So I guess that's a little mini rant there. We're gonna go a little bit longer today, so yeah. Anyways, yeah, TLDR, unless you have a ton of time and a very understanding significant other, I would not try to start a small business, especially with all the shit going on these days, with all the supply chain issues and all this other stuff. It's made something that's been hard already even more harder. Like, that's a sad reality we're living in right now. So let's see. I'm going to skip over this because it's a resin printer question. We don't do resin printers here. If you are looking for resin printer stuff, look up Akuma Mods. He's a guy in Illinois. He's a buddy of mine. His name is Matt, and he's like he's the guy that's most knowledgeable when it comes to resin printing that I know. So Thomas is asking on the mosquito brackets. I think you mean the all metal brackets. I got an email yesterday from the machine, the guy we're buying them through and running all the machining and everything. That they should be shipping to us in about a week and a half, so we should have them very soon. James is asking about if the lollipops are still a thing. They are, but sometimes if we're running really fast, like we have to get a ton of orders out, and we did hire a new shipping person, or like a shop person who's helping with shipping, she might have forgot them because she's still in training. She's been getting orders, like the products have been going into the boxes fine, but I wonder if she's forgetting to put them in there. I will mention it to Danielle, but yes, we still do have, we still do put like some sort of candy in there. It's been Dum Dum suckers. So let's see. Doc Brown, what would cause my Ender 3 Pro screen to go scrambled? Seems consistent on a second print after a first successful print. Power cycle clears it. Already replaced the screen. Got an EasyBoard V2. Typically, if you're getting random scrambles, because we have the same thing that happens randomly on our Ender 5 in the shop, it ends up being a grounding issue. It's an electrical interference thing. So I would change the cable if you haven't already. Sometimes it just be as simple as you have a cable that's not making good connection. So that's where I would start. I'd swap the cable, check your grounds, and go from there. It's probably not a defective screen. So that other screen, if you change the screen out, because I did the same thing. I changed the screen out thinking it was a screen. It wasn't. It's usually some sort of electrical interference problem Someone else told me, I think if there's like you can get a block on Thingiverse or even whip one up in Fusion. If you basically remove the metal bracket that holds the LCD from the printer frame and like isolate it electrically, that I've been told helps. I haven't tried it myself, but it could help. So yeah, I would start there. Cable and check your grounding. Bits for Noobs is saying, what are your thoughts on the ANET ET4X? So I have the ET4, not the ET4X. I know they have like slight variations. And that's another thing. I got an email in my inbox from an ANET marketing person. I was told, or not told, but I read an article saying that basically ANET has been like defunct. But apparently they're coming back. Their ET4 printer was fine. My big gripe with it was the firmware, and the ET4, the ET5 I have, and those are on my list of ones to get firmware working for. The only caveat with them is you do need to burn a bootloader to them with like a little ST link. They're like, I've got a bunch of them. They're like, there's little clone ones that are like $10 that work just fine. But then you can run Marlin on it. So that is on my list. I don't know, are any of you guys watching here, do any of you have an ANET ET4 and ET5? Does anybody here have an ET4, ET5, or any of those variants? Because I'm wondering if I should even spend any time doing firmware on them, or if I should just be like, hey, someone give me $100 and you can take one. Because they do print. I'm just curious. Because that's one of the things too, is like trying to find out if there's certain printers I should even if there's any printers that I should even bother spending any time doing software for. So I'm curious. I'll keep an eye on the chat and see if there's anything. I thought I saw someone post a question, but I don't think the bot picked it up. Did my bot drop connection? No, it's connected. Was it the wrong thing? I'm not sure why I didn't pick that one up. Anyways, yeah, so here's the thing. Yeah, you could switch out the board in them, but that's not something. I have so many other printers, it's not worth it for me. Like if I was more on the like the tinkerer consumer side instead of the business side, I probably would take the time to swap the board out. But when I have so many other machines that are way better quality and they just work with existing software, you know, it's like, why should I spend the time on it when I've got all these other printers that if I put the same amount of time in, they could be really, really good. Ping Jockey, are there any third-party boards for Ender 3 S1? As far as I know, there are not, and it's probably going to be a while before any company has any out. We are not going to put out a board for the Ender 3 S1, and this is the problem when it comes to printers and companies making printers like the Ender 3 S1, where they use proprietary connectors, is when it comes time to upgrade or replace the board, you as a consumer basically have one option, which is go back to the original manufacturer. I'm pretty sure Creality's doing it intentionally with all these board versions, so you guys have to keep buying from them because they know it's not cost effective for companies like us or, you know, even Big Tree Tech and all these other companies to make a different board version to drop into theirs every single time there's a new board. So, all right, Bits for News says, oh, as we're talking about the screens, if I'm a new enthusiast and I bought Ender 3 V2, I wouldn't know they're changing parts. We need to raise awareness somehow. So I try to, you know, talk about it on here and make you guys aware. And then if you guys go ahead and, you know, spread the word, that's all you can really do. I did send a couple of my contacts over. I have a Creality reseller I deal with and a couple other Chinese, like I think the proper term is like agents. They're like middlemen between me and multiple factories over there. I was like, hey, can you guys get me some? So I do want to see if I can get a couple of like at least a small batch of like the OEM boards. But this is what I'm talking about when I look at a printer and I'm like, this is proprietary crap and I don't like it, because even myself, if my S1 board dies right now, I'm probably just going to let that printer sit and collect dust, because the amount of time it would take me to take out the stock one and map out all the pins and everything and solder and crimp everything, like I could do it. It's just a ton of time. I would rather just go buy another printer. You know, if I can't get an OEM board, you know, that's, and I'm sure a lot of people will be in the same boat. Like I could absolutely swap the board out. I don't want to spend the time. James is asking, is it easy but worth upgrading from the Creality CR Touch? If your CR Touch is not working correctly, absolutely. I did play with the CR Touch a little bit on my S1. It came with it, and I was actually pretty impressed that it actually worked. Now, I could have just gotten lucky because I've heard a lot of people saying they've been having issues with them. But the thing is, like the BL Touch, the CR Touch, if they're working and they're working well enough for you, you know, me personally, I switch them out just because I don't want to deal with replacing them later on. My process when I get a new printer, I build it exactly how I want it, and I use it like that till something breaks. You know, but unless you got money burning a hole in your pocket and it's working, just keep using it until it dies, and then when it dies, you know, put something else on it. I'm looking here. Project FV is asking, I got a printer for free, it wasn't working. If I color set an appointment and order parts with you guys be able to help me get the right stuff to fix it. So if you're looking, if it's a printer we make carry parts for and like have replacement parts for, you can either send us a message to our contact form or use our live chat. Our live chat's available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time. So we're on Central Time here. Do I think the Anchor Make 3D printer will be a good 3D printer? If it actually does what they're claiming it does, then I think it will be a decent machine for people that don't want to know how a printer works. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see how well Anchor supports it, because we all know you can put as much plastic covers on it and make it look pretty. At the end of the day, it's still a 3D printer, and it's still going to be affected by the same issues that affect all 3D printers. You know what I mean? So I hope it doesn't suck, because a lot of people are going to be pissed off if they don't. You know, you can tell they're shilling it pretty hard. Like they paid Linus Tech Tips to do a video. They paid Uncle Jesse to do a video. I'm really curious to know how much they paid those people to do videos. I'm assuming Linus is not cheap to do a video. So they clearly are putting a lot of money into marketing. So let's hope they put as much money into marketing as they do R&D. Let's see. Justin Dybell, give me a shell of a printer. I'll put my own electronics in it. So when we were talking about, when we were talking about doing our own printer, I wanted to make it kind of a modular platform where we had like different mounting positions for like our board, for, you know, MCAS boards, SKR boards, Creality boards. I think that'd be kind of cool, but like just because of lack of time, I'm only one person. I have to focus my attention on other stuff. So hopefully things should be, you know, moving along better. Sorry, Sean's asking me for a micro SD card adapter. I don't know if he's talking about like a USB reader or a micro to full size. I don't know if I have any handy. Oh, it's for, oh. I don't have adapters handy. Yeah, I just gave our shop manager, Danielle, I actually gave her the JG Maker that we just put out firmware, because I'm done using it, and it's not really a printer I need to keep around. So I was like, I know her and her husband were like butting heads because they were sharing a printer, and I was like, do you want to just take this? do you want to have the JG Maker? Hang on. Hang on, let me put this out here for him. Hang on. We're not going OUT. All right. Anyways, we were talking about the anchor. Yeah, so it from an outsider's perspective, because I've seen this with a lot of the companies that do the Kickstarter crap. My personal thing is don't put your money up in Kickstarter, but you know, people there's enough dumb people that are willing to throw their money away on, you know, risking not getting stuff for some reason. I've been burned too many times by Kickstarter to ever do another Kickstarter ever again. So Joseph, should I upgrade my Chiron or save for a better printer? So here's the thing. Chiron's a big machine. I'm assuming you bought it because you want to print big stuff. If that's the case, and you already own it, I'd probably just upgrade it. We have our Chiron, and I did our LCD kit on it, Easy ABL. And then there's a video, I think I did all on stream where I put the 5015 cooling fan on there. It's been in the print farm since then, and it's been run like every single day since then. It's actually been pretty good. Also, I do want to mention, if you guys have a Chiron, apparently one of the common points of failure on that printer is the cable that goes between the hot end and the control box. There's like a long cable. It's a proprietary connector. We actually carry a whole replacement cable, and it's made in the U.S. There's a guy, VGP 3D Fab. He's actually one of our customers, and he's making these cables by hand here in the U.S. We carry them now, and they're like $60. You pull it out, replace the stock one with that, and it's all good. So we do have them. I have a small Quadia. I think they're like $60. So, but they're really nice quality. It's right there. I don't know what's on that card, so just delete it. It's probably got random firmware G-code files. Bits for news. What do you think of the limited release SVO1 Pro? I bought it, and I already got a tracking number. So I have one of those on the way. Steve Kinner, do I need to swap out the LCD screen on the Ender 3 Pro? No, you do not. If it's the Ender 3 Pro, that is a 12864, and that's the preferred one. That one just works. Let's see. I don't know what my bot is doing. I saw in a dev. I was underbilled on my last order by $3. How do I pay you money? If you, I don't know how you were underbilled, or why you think you were underbilled, but if it's only $3, I don't care. But if you could post your order number in the chat, I'm going to look at that to make sure there's nothing weird with our site. Hopefully it's just you reading something wrong, and there's not an issue, because that would suck if we're losing, if we're underbilling on things. Anyways, 3D Experience, can you recommend a good cheap air filter I can put inside the tent with my 3D printer? I can't. I have larger units that are in my office. They would not be something that would fit into an enclosure, or like, you know, the grow tents as we call them. James, is there a printer brand you recommend that plays well with the open source community that we should support? The only one that comes to mind is, like, I know Prusa is very good at that. You know, they're expensive. Solva, I think, has been pretty good about not switching out shit. I don't really have too much to bitch about them. I actually do, you know, I do like what Solval does. I don't know if they're like an arm of Creality. They do use a lot of Creality parts, but they don't do what Creality does, which is let's throw a new printer out to market every other month. They seem to take their time and work on a couple models and get it right, and then move to the next one and get it right, and then move to the next one. So, but I need to double check and see where they're standing with the firmware. And we'll find out, because I just bought the SVO1 Pro, and I know it's running Marlin because Jim at the Edge Attack just did an unboxing. So if they do not provide the source code, I'm going to give them hell. I'm going to start with them because they're the newest printer I bought. Same thing with the Ender 7. I have an Ender 7 here. I bought an Ender 7. So if you guys have an Ender 7, we are coming out with an LCD kit for the Ender 7. I bought this, like I think what most people realize is, like, unlike the other YouTubers that get printers for free, we rarely get printers for free. I am literally putting my own money up to buy these printers to make firmware for, and make upgrades for and stuff. So, let's see. Let's see. All right, anyways, Steve Kinnard, I upgraded LCM Ender 6. Where's EEPROM stored now? The EEPROM is stored. The EEPROM is stored on the EEPROM chip on the board. So our firmware actually uses the EEPROM chip. Nadav, not site issues. Peter said replacements for... Okay, don't worry about it then. Okay, I just want to make sure there are no issues with the site. Let's see. Bits for news. What is the GPL? GPL is the GNU... sorry, let me make sure, because I'm sure if I say it wrong, the neckbeards will be in the comments having a absolute meltdown. The GNU is the general public license. It's the GNU GPL v3. If you guys want to read up on it, it's a license that Marlin is released under, and I'm gonna post a link in there. But basically, the license is that, you know, like if I get the code from the project, I use it for my product. I send it to you. I send you my product with the code on it. You go, hey, I noticed this is the GPL software. Can you provide me the source code? I legally have to give you the source code that I use to build that file that shipped on that printer. That's the problem. So when let's say with Creality, let's use Creality for example. You know, let's say they have their 422 board with the STM chip and they have their 422 board with the knockoff GD chip. Okay, if they use a different firmware to build firmware for the GD chip, they have to give the customer with the GD chip the source code for the firmware that built the GD firmware. Okay? They can't give that customer that has the GD chip the source code for the STM one just because that's the one they have available on their site. So, yeah, that's the problem here. So basically, anytime there's a change in the code because of a processor change or whatever, a board change, if the code change to generate the file that you're sending out to your customers changed, you have to provide that source code, which means they should have a thing on their site saying, if you have this board with this processor, here's your source code. If you have this board with that processor, here's your source code. That's how granular it needs to be. So, and they don't have that. We have better documentation on our firmware we put out for free than the companies that actually build the printers. It's kind of sad. 3D experience or any 8-stepper board you think is decent? I can't be like, oh yes, this one's amazing, because I haven't used any. In general, if I'm going to buy a like universal board, I typically will go with stuff from MKS, and I think they have this called their Monster 8. And I have looked at it, it looks pretty good, but I have not actually personally used it. I'm just going off of, in general, MKS has been good quality for low-cost Chinese-made boards. I will not use Big Tree Tech because they just seem to screw the pooch on stupid stuff. Like, you know, when their SKR2s came out and they were frying drivers because they changed a part last minute. Let's see. Craig Williams. I posted a video on my Ender 6. It's making a clunking noise after installing EasyABL. Not saying it's the EasyABL, was the stepper sounds loose when adjusting the bed. So I think I know what you're talking about. It's something with the driver they're using, because it's kind of like a subtle like click noise. Here's the thing, they pulled a bait and switch on all you guys that bought an Ender 6 after the reviews, including my review video. My Ender 6 has Trinamics on all drivers, which means they're silent. You guys who just bought an Ender 6 recently have 4988s or knockoff 4988s on your Z and your E, because Creality is having issues with the drivers failing on their shitty boards. So, yes, if it's like, I'm gonna look on Discord, but I'm pretty sure I know it is, and it shouldn't affect anything. It's just, it's not fully stepping completely smooth, because it's just a crappy board design, and it's using the 4988s. I don't know what, it's a timing thing. You could try changing, and I'm just thinking about this now that I don't know why this is just occurring to me now. If you're using our firmware, I'm wondering if we need to have an option for the Ender 6 if you have the 4988 drivers. Because right now, I'm pretty sure our code is set up for the Trinamics because, and this is again, more frustration, them changing shit after launch is incredibly frustrating. So if Craig, are you still in here? I'm gonna find your, I hope you posted it in the live streams channel. Did you? Please post in the live streams channel. Did you? I'm looking, I'm scrolling. Okay, here we go. I'm looking, hang on. Maybe that's not it. It's hard to tell. Basically, what I noticed is the motion is not as smooth on the newer boards on the Z when it's doing the bed compensation. It doesn't seem to affect it working. Everything seems to work. Like I just built an Ender 6 for the high school here that has that newer board version, and everything functioned correctly. But yeah, I did notice that the Z was a little bit louder, and that's because it probably doesn't have Trinamics on it. So here, let me do this. I'll share the sound here so you guys can see it. But this looks like what I saw on the one I just built. And yeah, it's kind of annoying, but it seems to work fine. I didn't have any issues with ABL not working because it's still moving. It's just a little bit rougher is the right word. But you can see it kind of like it's making the adjustments, but it's not as smooth. The Trinamics are going to be smoother because they're doing the interpolation from the 1/16 stepping up to 1/256, so it smooths everything out. But as far as I know, they've been having issues with these boards. Now, luckily, I haven't had issues with my Ender 6 board yet, knock on wood, with all 4 Trinamics. But if I do, I'm going to probably... I mean, you guys will know what to do because I'll be doing a video where I'm going to put one of our boards in it. And we're going to find out just how weird their wiring is. The Ender 6 is a interesting printer because they have wires shared. They have common wires for like end stops shared with grounds of the other components going up to the rest of the printer and the hot end. That's why we don't have official support for it. And I also use my Ender 6 quite a bit, so I haven't taken it offline as of yet. So let's see. Blaze B3D. Speaking of, did you see the LTT Anchor video? Apparently, all the printers aren't even production. They're all custom CNC block. Yeah. Yeah. So the quality won't be the same. I could be being cynical, but I have a feeling that Anchor printer is going to be a flop, and a lot of people are going to be screwed. Because like I'll be honest, if someone, like I said, if someone's like if someone's like, you got to buy another Ender 3S1 at full retail price, or you're buying an Anchor, I'm just gonna go buy an Ender 3S1 because while the Ender 3S1 has proprietary stuff and isn't that easy to fix, it's gonna be easier to fix than an Anchor machine. Here's something that just popped in my head thinking about that. Is you get these printers that have more and more proprietary wiring harnesses and boards and parts, and it's hard to get replacements. Whereas, like the Ender 3, we can basically keep fixing until the aluminum extrusion falls apart. Whereas these other printers that have all these proprietary parts, if the company stops making them and no third-party companies start making the aftermarket accessories for them to replace them, eventually it's going to get to the point where they're just going to get thrown in the trash because it's not worth fixing anymore, or you can't get the parts for it. Which completely goes against what, like, the whole point of having these DIY open source printers is the fact that you can mod the hell out of them, you can fix them with whatever you want. You want to go get parts from the manufacturer, you can. You want to get parts from, a third party, you can. It seems like we're taking steps backwards in some regards. Like, yes, the printers are getting nicer looking. They're starting to put little upgrades on it that make it just a little bit better user experience, but we're also taking a step back on repairability, which I don't think is good for just people in general. I did see someone asking about the Ender 6 enclosures. I got a text from my buddy Joe a couple days ago, and I'm going to text him right now. I meant to do this earlier today, but he did get all the extrusion in. He's got all the hardware packed. I got to find out if I got to go to get it from him. He's about an hour from me, or if he's going to bring them here, but he sent me on Monday. And those, I think I have 2 guys that were in the call to TH3D. I put in manual pre-orders because you guys didn't care. The retail versions will be all black extrusion. So they will not be silver like the pictures show. They will be black, so they will match. So he was able to get black extrusion, and it was about the same price. It's close enough where we're just going to keep it the same price. All right. I just sent him a message. So, but yeah, I'll be building one. I'm going to be taking one for my Ender 6 too, because I want to add an enclosure to mine, so I can have that do ABS and stuff. One thing I will say, just in general, if you guys are going to put your printer in an enclosure, even temporarily, you should be printing all of your parts in ABS. You might be able to get away with PETG for a little while, but the problem is PETG will soften up in an enclosure over time, like a month or two. You're going to want to print your parts in ABS if it's going in an enclosure. That's one of the reasons why I print all of my parts in ABS for my printers that could, that have a high probability of me throwing in an enclosure in the future. The Ender 6 was one. I was like, I'm probably going to enclose this, so I did everything in ABS. 3D Experience, what kind of board could I buy at Home Depot that's suitable for building printer enclosures? Really, I mean, anything that's not super flammable, I guess. I've seen people use that like for just like a temporary use. They buy that like pink board, that hard insulation board. I've seen that, and like I wouldn't use that long term, but if you're supervising the printer and you just need something cheap to throw over the printer to get some prints done and have around once in a while, I don't think that's a bad option. I've seen a lot of people using that. Marquise, I got a pancake stepper motor from you. It works great. It's on Ender 3 Max direct drive. I was wondering what to run the TMC stepper current at. I don't have that information. How I adjust my stepper current is so let me rephrase it. If you have a board in there, like our Easy board, where you can adjust the current from the printer LCD, I'll usually run about on a pancake stepper. I'll usually run about 550 on the current and see how that goes. If it's losing steps, I'll go up to 650. So that's 650 milliamps. But if you're on a board that requires you to manually adjust it, if it's not running too hot, then I would leave, and it's not losing steps, then just leave it. But basically what I've done when I have boards that require manual adjustment is I will set it to, for a Trinamic, I'll probably put it down to like 0.9 volts, because usually the Trinamic VREFs are higher than like a 4988. And see how warm the motor gets. If the motor's getting super hot after about 15-20 minutes, meaning I can't keep my hand on it, where it's like, it's really hot, and you kind of pull your finger away, I'll drop it down by 0.1 volts until it gets into an operating temperature where it's not burning up. So basically you want to keep the motors around 60 C or less. So if it's getting hotter than 60 C, you want to back your current down. And if it's a board that's a more basic board where you can't adjust it with the firmware, then I usually go down in 0.1 volt increments. If it's losing steps and it's not running warm, I will go up in 0.1 volt increments. So I don't use anything fancy. It's just trial and error. I'm sure there's guides out there that can tell you, okay, find the coil resistance of this wire and the sense resistor on your stepper driver and all this other stuff. I don't get that involved with it. I just set it to an approximate value. I run some prints. Am I losing steps? No, I'm not. Am I running too hot? No, I'm not. Okay, well, that's a good VREF for that motor. It's that simple. Because the thing is, if you run too much VREF, you're going to run the motor too hot. If you run too little VREF, you're going to lose steps. So you got to walk that line. Let's see. Pablo said, are there 0.25 copper alloy nozzles? Are the 0.25 copper alloy nozzles recommended for printing miniatures? Are they worth buying? So I don't sell those. I think other people do. We have a copper alloy nozzle. We call our Easy Flow with a plating. And they're very nice. They just print well. We don't have down to 0.25. But I have heard people saying that the 0.25s are good for doing minis. Anybody watching, can you guys comment on that? But I have heard the 0.25s are pretty good for doing miniatures. Judd Whiting, can I change your software to reach 270, 280 on my extruder? Running the E3D V6 hard nozzle. Right now I can only get it to 260. So you would have to enable the high temp thermistor option and then set it. I think Marlin, the max temp it will let you set is 15 degrees less than the max temperature, which I think the max temperature right now in the software is 275 C. Now, if you're going to be running 270 to 280 C, you better have a thermistor that can handle those temperatures. Most stock thermistors can handle up to 290, but I don't like running them past like 270, 275. I don't know what material you're printing with that needs to get to 270, 280. But like in general, hardened nozzles, I stopped using them because like the heat transfer is not good. The only time I'll use like a hardened steel or like a steel nozzle is if I'm just running some, like I'm just doing prints and I just want to temporarily switch a printer over to run abrasive materials. But in general, the copper plated nozzles like our Easy Flow, like yes, they're more expensive, are a better all-arounder because you don't have to bump the print temp up to compensate for the lower heat transfer. So in general, steel nozzles don't conduct heat as well as brass nozzles. So you have, in terms of thermal conductivity, you got steel, which is the lowest end, you got brass, which is your average, and you've got the copper ones, which is at the high end. You know, your brass is your general purpose nozzle. It can't handle abrasive materials. It'll get chewed up. You know, and they're inexpensive. But then you got the steel, which they'll handle the abrasives, but then they have poor heat transfer, so you have to print a little hotter, but they're cheap. And then at the other end, you've got just all around where it works with everything, and the heat transfer is better than brass, but you're paying more for it. So, you know, it's just like everything else in life, like better things cost more money. It's the same thing with the nozzle. So the steel nozzles and the hardened steel nozzles are good if you just are occasionally printing with, you know, abrasive materials, and you don't want to spend 15 bucks on a nozzle. You just want to spend, you know, a couple dollars. That's why we have them. They do have their applications, but in general, I don't want to worry about, oh, does this printer have a steel nozzle in it or a brass? I just throw the Easy Flow in and call it a day. Because I can just throw stuff in there and it works. Let's see. James, I can't even pronounce your last name. James B. Jr. says he's replacing the hot end fan on his Ender 5 Plus. Should the fan be blowing onto the hot end or away? It should be blowing towards the hot end heatsink. So, and typically on most axial fans, which those are axial type fans, the airflow, there's sometimes little arrows on the casing, indicating which way it blows. But in general, those type of fans will blow towards the fan support. So here's just a random fan I have. So you see here, you've got the one side of the fan, and then you've got the other side with the supports. The air blows towards this side. So air goes through this way on the fan, not the other way. So it usually blows towards the motor support. I don't know. I'm looking to see if this has an arrow on it. Most of the fans, I've noticed most of the smaller fans do not have arrows showing which way the airflow goes. But you want it blowing at the heatsink. I'm going to try to get through the last couple of questions. I didn't realize we're already 15 minutes over. I'm fine going a little over. But yeah, so let's see. Johnny Tools, I finally got the easy nails working on my Ender 2 Pro. I definitely changed the power supply. Any chance it might be working on a replacement? So I am building the Aquila X2. Krista uses the Ender 2 Pro right now, and I'm going to build out the Aquila X2, which is what I'm going to do a video on. So when you guys see that, I'm going to then build that out, upgrade it for her, and then she's going to get the X2 for her printer, and then I'm going to take the Ender 2 Pro so I can take it apart. But basically, because that's a proprietary power supply, we can't just like swap it out. Now, if you're in a pinch and you need to replace it, you could just gut that enclosure and run a long set of wires from a power supply and just set it next to the printer. Like, there are workarounds to do it, but I want to design basically a full kit that we would sell that's a full bolt-up replacement, the printed housing with a Meanwhile power supply, the AC receptacle, and a set of wires. So basically you can just bolt that right up in and have a standard Meanwhile power supply in there. You know, and they get pretty small. This is a 100 watt. I'm looking at using like the 150s or the 200s. So like, but they make Meanwhile power supplies small. This is actually a spare power supply for my humidors, because they both take the 100 watt Meanwhiles. But anyways, yes, I will be working. I'm hoping in a couple weeks to have that done, and have it as a product. So basically like a PSU replacement kit. And I'm wondering if we should like offer it in like, hey, here's the whole thing, the printed case, the PSU, everything pre-assembled, or if we should just be like, here, and here's a video on how to put it together, here's the screws for the power supply, etc. But the goal is to have a whole replacement. You unbolt the old one, bolt in ours, and then you got a meanwhile, and you know, it's easy to get replacement parts then. So again, proprietary stuff. I hate that these companies are going towards proprietary stuffs. So Krista, I told you that I was taking Ligma from it. You can have it back when I'm done, and then I'll have a meanwhile instead of the Changlang power supply. And no, I'm not making fun of the name. That's the brand, Changlang. I was gonna buy Creality power supplies and make an exception for this one printer, but they're failing already. Ours hasn't failed, but I've had now 3 people tell me that they're having issues with their Ender 3 or Ender 2 Pro power supplies. One, I'm pretty sure that it's a 1-year warranty. Contact Creality and see if they'll send you a replacement. Either way, I don't like running printers with these knockoff power supplies in them just for safety reasons. So I am going to do it, but Krista does actually use her printer, so I'm going to build her a new printer, and then she'll have 2, and she can have the 2 Pro back once I'm done. All right. Mike V said, I picked up a CR10 V3, any STL adapter to mount the EasyBoard V2. So that's another printer. It's another printer where it's kind of proprietary. So though I think you need more than just an STL on that one. It's been a while since I've been in the CR10 V2. The V2 and the V3 are basically the same printer, aside from one comes with a direct drive, one comes with a Bowden, but basically they're the same thing. Does that one have, I know it's got the ribbon cable going up to the gantry. I don't have our CR10 V2 here anymore. I sold it. But I can't remember if that was at the end of the ribbon cable, it had just plugs, or if it went directly into the board. Because like the CR10S Pro, that ribbon cable goes directly into the board. But again, like you guys, just everybody watching, if you would take the time and you figure out what goes where in terms of like, okay, these 2 wires are for the layer fan, these 2 wires are for the heater, or, you know, or 4 wires. Like if your printer has a ribbon cable, and you probe all that out and figure out what goes where, and then put the correct ends on it, you can put any board in any printer. It's just how much time is it going to take you to do that. You know, and like I could take like my Ender 3 S1 board dies, I can absolutely put one of our boards in it, but it's going to take me hours to figure out all their pinouts. That's the problem when you start getting these companies that use these ribbon cables and these, you know, like, yes, it's a ribbon cable and you can probably find the ends. Like it's still a pain in the ass. But like the CR10 V3, that had a full-size SD slot, and I think a micro USB. Was it micro? I'm trying to remember. It's been a bit. It's been a hot minute. But yeah, I mean, you can do it, but I do not have an STL adapter mount for that. It wouldn't be hard to whip something up like that in Fusion. If you guys haven't picked up Fusion, I highly recommend it. I've been messing with Fusion a lot more these days. Also, I am ordering Ender 3 S1 silicone socks if you guys are in the market for those. Nathan, I don't know if he's watching, but he's one of our customers that has one of them. I've been chatting with him on Telegram, and he's like, I need to find a bunch of these parts. I was like, well, I'm ordering stuff tonight from my reps overseas. Like, let me know what you want. So we're going to try to get some stock boards in. We're going to try to get some silicone socks in, and he sent me a list of other things. So... and we also are getting bimetal heat breaks in for the Creality hot ends, and he asked me if I could see if I can get ones for the S1 as well. We have been testing bimetal heat breaks in our print farm, and they've been running really well, so we're going to be stocking those. They are going to be more expensive than our titanium ones, so... But they are full length, so they'll be easier to install than our current ones we have for the Creality hot ends. I'm going to see if there's any other quick questions here before we wrap this up, because I am starting to crash here. Sorry the stream's been kind of all over the place. I go off on tangents a lot. Max CJ said there is an adapter for the Ender 3 boards for the CR10 V2/V3 box on Thingiverse. I swapped mine out to an MKS. Okay. Yeah. So who is asking about that? Mike V? Post it in the Max CJ, can you post it in Discord? Let me see. That's good to know. Yeah, I couldn't remember if that was terminated. He said it's terminated like an Ender 3. Which is good, meaning it's got regular plugs on it. It's not a breakout board. So that's not a terrible printer to switch over. And then you just, if you're using an EasyBoard V2, use the DIY firmware. It won't take you very long to set it up. It's not that complicated. Let me see. CR10 V2 Ender adapter. See if I can find it. Wait, CR10 V2 or V3 Ender 3 board adapter. Bam! There we go. I'm gonna download that. It's listed as attribution only, so maybe I should just throw it in, throw it on our site, and then attribute content. So, anyways, MaxCG said the only issue is I had to rewire the BL Touch header on the X-axis PCB. I could see that. Yeah, see, again, that's the thing. Like, if you're undertaking swapping a board out and it's not a board that's meant to be a drop-in, be prepared to have to, like, do some probing and find out where wires go and modifying things, you know. So, like, our TH3D Discord server is a really good resource. There's a lot of guys in there that are, you know, hacking up and modding stuff. But if you don't have a soldering iron and a multimeter, I probably wouldn't recommend doing a full DIY conversion on like switching a board out that's not like a drop-in type board, if that makes sense. So my apologies for that. So anyways, do you prefer ABS or ASA for use in enclosures? I use ABS. ASA is fine too. Albert Drew, is there an easy flow for our Charlie Sidewinder X2? I don't know what hot end that uses, but let me Google it really quick and see. I know the X1 used the Volcano style nozzles, so our Volcano style nozzles fit the X1. I don't know if the X2 uses the same hot end as the X1. I'm checking right now. See if I find a good picture for it. Of the hot end, I should say. They don't have any good photos of the hot end on here. They got a oh, hang on, wait. Nope, that doesn't show the nozzle. I'm looking. Sometimes I can tell. It looks like that might be a Volcano style nozzle too. I want to say it is. It looks like it's a Volcano style. So, I would say if it was me, I would probably take the risk and order and see. This looks like a Volcano style nozzle. Just the length and the thread. It looks like it's an M6 thread. I don't know if it says what it is, but the X1, this looks like the same kind of setup as the X1 had. The X1 took a Volcano nozzle. And this looks to be the same. This looks to be the same. I can't be like, oh, yes, it will definitely work. So, you know, if you're going to order it, take a chance, let us know. But again, I can't be like, oh, yes, this will definitely work. Based on what I'm saying here, I would say it's probably a high chance that it will work, meaning the Volcano Easy Flow size. So, like, let me see here. Yeah, so like the Volcano size. So you can see here the different sizes. So here's what an MK8 looks like. Here's what a V6 style looks like. Here's the Volcano. That's what I'm saying. It looks like the Volcano would fit into the Sidewinder X2. But I don't have one here, so I can't be like, absolutely, this will work. Hopefully you know what I'm saying. I'm just trying to be honest. All right. I think that'll be it M. Poffenbar, was there a pre-order for the Ender 6 top enclosure? No, there was not. There was a couple of people that were like on the Cult of TH3D, which I think you are as well. That like I know are not going to be like, oh my god, it's taking forever to ship. Cancel my order. Yeah. So no, we didn't do a public pre-order, but I know who you are, and I know you won't be a problem. So if you want one, let me know. You know how to get a hold of me. But yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna give Remo his dingo stick, and then we're gonna wrap it up. And if you guys are a member here on YouTube, like our Cult of TH3D member, make sure to connect your YouTube account that you use to be a member on the channel to your Discord account. And join our Discord server because you do get access to the VIP lounge. You can get access to the VIP lounge also by being a Nitro booster on our server, or just by participating in the rest of the server and you level up and then get access to that. So, anyways, I'm gonna go. I think his dingo sticks. Oh wait, we've got the quacky pot pies. Do you want a treat? We've been a good boy. You see the ears? Yeah. Are we booting up? Are we tired? Are we? I think our legs asleep. Can you speak? Give me a good one. Like an actual bark. Oof. Oof. Why? Why are you so wimpy? All right, sit. Shake. Touch. No. Oof. Almost dropped it. Okay, ready? There you go. Oh, we're gonna give him two. Look at the ears. You can tell he's tired. All right, shake, touch. You have to actually touch. Good boy. Sit. Speak. Good boy. There we go. Thank you for being a good dog this stream. He's a little tired. So, anyways, I will talk to you guys later. I'm gonna try to get the Ender 6 enclosure parts by the end of the week. I'm told they're ready. So we have the acrylic here, and we have the boxes to build all the packages. So, if you guys are interested in getting one, go ahead and add it to your wish list, and then we will get you will get an email when we stock them. So, oh, excuse me. Anyways, I hope you guys learned something. Sorry about getting a little emotional on stream here. Wasn't trying to, but it just kind of happened. But I appreciate everybody that watches here. You know, I generally do try to do, you know, try to help people out and stuff. But like, you know, run a business is really hard. So if you're thinking about doing it, make sure you think long and hard. So anyways, I will talk to you guys later. Make sure to hit up our Discord server. And if you guys need help with your printer, go ahead and send us a message. You know, in terms of like if you need help selecting parts, like I don't know what nozzle I need, I don't know what power supply. You know, our support team is really good at helping people get what they need. And we aren't going to try to intentionally upsell you on shit you don't. So anyways, I will talk to you guys later, and as always, happy printing.